Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back midweek for another bonus episode of the RGM Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney. How you doing? You all right? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we like to bring you extra content out here at the podcast, and we've got something special for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a guest from over the pond, Ryan Graves from That American Place. I've been trying to. You can see Ryan there. Hi, Ryan. You can see that you'll have seen on the magazine that we have been shouting about this thing called RGM USA. And basically, it's an idea I had a few years ago that's just gradually been growing nicely throughout the lifetime of RGM. And basically, what it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's a section within RGM that celebrates music in America. And in turn, we share UK music in America. So it's kind of like a handshake between the two countries to share each other's music and hopefully basically get more ears and eyes on everybody's music, which is the point of it all, really. But that's what RGM USA is. A month ago, I was in Las Vegas, so I have been on American soil recently. And I know just how big the time difference is. So it's 3 o'clock here in the UK. Ryan is with me now. Ryan is a guest on the podcast today, going to talk about his career and everything coming up now. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome me to welcome Ryan Graves from all over in Washington. Hi, mate.
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome, mate. So let's start with the time difference thing then. So 8 hours behind, I believe, isn't it? So it's early for you there, mate. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the crack of dawn, but I mean, early bird gets the worm, and I've got little kids to get up for school, so it's not really a big change. It's
yeah,
totally
fair enough, mate. Well, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. Like I say, you're over there in America. We're over in the UK, just doing our little RGM thing. For anybody that's not aware of who you are, Ryan, introduce us to yourself so our RGM family can get to know you a little bit.
Oh my! Well, you've seen the probably the write up, or some people have seen the write up. So I mean, that's the fancy schmancy studio pick. I would just say humble musician and singer since '93.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my roots start. Lots of different albums along the way, personal projects, private projects, indie projects galore. Yeah. And I just released Legacy, which is a commemoration of 30 years in music. So it's a best of, but not really. I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron, really. It's a best of CD that contains 17 songs over 30 years of music with 3 brand new resurrected ones. And it's just real close to my heart. I titled it Legacy because there's a big question as far as what kind of legacy do you want to leave, especially if you're a husband, father, whatever you are. And so I'm just riding a wave of excitement and joy right now and releasing the latest one.
Well, we've enjoyed featuring it on RGM as well. So in the description of this podcast, you'll see the link to the review for the album too, where you can get involved and download and stream it, of course. But let's go back a little bit. How did you first work out that music is a thing for you? I tend to find music can kind of find you in a cheesy way, can't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really we're getting really cerebral there with stuff like that. But yes, absolutely. I think music definitely finds you. When I was a little kid, I was super into Michael Jackson. I mean, who wasn't as a little boy?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure there weren't people out there, but for me, I was. And I remember, there you go. See, I knew there was one.
Yeah.
I remember as a little guy, I wanted to sing, but I was so nervous. I was so just antsy about people actually watching me. So I remember sitting on the bathroom or the kitchen counter around the corner, my entire family, 2 brothers, 2 parents, around the corner in the living room. And I was singing Ben, which is a solo song Michael Jackson sang about a rat when he was a little boy. And I sang that song from around the corner in the kitchen so that they could hear me, but not see me. And, rousing applause and standing ovation. And of course, they're your family. So, you're not going to get excoriated. Safe audience. Yeah. But I really liked it. I loved it, and I was getting into it. And I think just over the years, listening to a real diverse palette of music, rock, pop, R&B, soul, country, hip hop. Just there's all kinds of different music in a world music. There's just so many kinds of disco. So you have to kind of increase your palette and listen to all different kinds, which I did over the years. Found my own signature sound, which was I'm a Christian, so there's roots there. So faith permeated all of my music, but the contemporary Christian music scene pretty much swallowed me whole, and I produced music along those lines, contemporary Christian, mainly influenced at that time when I first started, Boys to Men, Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, some country western, Rascal Flatts. I think Rascal Flatts was around back then. I don't remember. And that just kind of formed who I was. I was really into the vocal acrobatics and the different turns between notes, really expressing a song uniquely and finding my own signature sound that way. Toured it around, radio airplay, and just started a career. But I love the creation process. All the songs were written by me. I absolutely love how a song takes genesis in your mind, and there's a notion or a concept, turns into words, turns into melody, or vice versa, however that evolves. And then I don't know like a theory, so I'm completely theory agnostic. Had to trust on some super accomplished professional colleagues to bring everything to life, to bring all my visions to life. I was in very good hands.
Okay. So what was the political landscape like in your town? So you're from Washington. So we in the UK can sometimes get confused because there's more than just one Washington over there. So Washington State isn't Washington, DC, is it? That's just me being stupid.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So
correct.
Washington State is to the left. Washington, DC is far right in the middle, isn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah. And you can say that you really couldn't say that Washington, DC is far right, but they're pretty much both far left. If you want to go about the
just mean as you're looking at them, I'm not getting into politics or particularly what we can do if you want, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Washington, so Seattle, is it Seattle is that where you are?
Correct. Yeah. And I pretty much steered clear of I've been politically atheist, or politically agnostic, I guess would be a better term, and intentionally steered clear of venturing into those real controversial waters that would stir up dissent and disagreement and stuff. Tried to walk a middle ground, middle of the road approach to my music.
Yeah, but, well, I feel like I've got to ask you now. What do you think about Donald Trump recently, and the allegations that have been proven? And I'll ask you about Biden as well for balance.
Sure. So I'm going to dance carefully. I'll just say, since we're venturing into the political realm, okay, I'm going to dance very carefully. Okay. I'm not, again, I try to remain politically agnostic. I mean, there's so many conversations that you can have with people. The ones that are most polarizing are, of course, politics and religion. And you find out who your friends are real fast, and you find out who your friends were real fast. Okay. So I'm trying to steer clear of it. I'm no fan of Donald Trump. I am a conservative. I've always been conservative. You would think that there are, I think the media likes to portray conservatives as 100% Donald Trump acolytes, and it's just not true. Everybody's different. There's no black and white. There's a huge shade of gray. That's why half of the country is, votes 49% this way and 51% that way. It's always right down the middle. And I did not vote for him and originally. I certainly didn't vote for him the second time, nor would I vote for him again. I think the country's in need of someone who is less self-serving, who's far more sacrificially minded and thinking about everyone else. It's not make America great again. It's make Donald Trump great again. Yeah. And I'm not a super fan of Biden as well, but I think our country desperately needed change. And so that's why I voted for him.
Why do you think there's no one else that's challenging these two people? Biden is a gentle old man now. You can tell his health it doesn't feel like he was 4 years ago when he started the job. There's deterioration there. I can't see him going on for another 4 years. I just can't see why you'd want to at that age as well, to be honest. So that concerns why you'd want the kind of power at that age. You just want an easy life, surely. Donald Trump's obvious; he's a celebrity. Why do you think there's no other realistic options for a leader away from these two people?
I don't know, but I certainly think there's time. I mean, there's a long road between here and 2024.
Yeah.
I think that there will be people who will rise to the fore. I certainly hope that there will be, and I there's speculation obviously that people like Ron DeSantis will take up the mantle and charge up against Donald Trump. Who knows? I don't believe that. Obviously, Joe Biden is certainly no longer in his prime. I think he's a very respectable gentleman. I think he has restored diplomacy and dignity to the office of the president, but I'm not sure that he has it. Yeah, I don't think that he has the mental stamina to carry the torch another 4 years. I do certainly hope that people will rise up and there will be more players in the field to choose from, because the incumbent always has large sway over the voting populace, but Donald Trump is the Republican frontrunner, as the polls show. So crossing my fingers, we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck with all that anyway, mate. Good luck with all that. I didn't have politics on my list, but I just felt like I just had to go there. So thanks for just entertaining me there. It's always appreciated.
My pleasure.
So then, religion. So you say it's a really important part of you as a person, and you've talked about it in your music, and the album is it's a Christian rock style type of music. We don't really get a lot of that there in the UK. Just talk, what is the appeal of that style of music? Just introduce us in the UK into that genre.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, the bottom line for a Christian voiceover, a Christian voice artist, a Christian recorder, Christian singer, performer, whatever, is their faith. That's foundational to who I am. And so Jesus Christ is my savior. I've been born again. You've heard those terms, and people go, ugh, whatever. And they think of the scary Catholic priest that's just fouling up the works. Yeah. That's not. I don't have a religion. I have a relationship. That's the biggest difference that I would quantify Christianity as. Christianity permeates everything that I do. Am I perfect? I have a great t-shirt that summarizes this. It says, am I perfect? No. But am I trying to be a better person? Also no. You can't really be a better person independent of my belief, independent of saving grace and the Holy Spirit living within you. That's what motivates my music. That's what motivates my pursuits. So there's so many themes that you can write a song around. Love certainly is foundational to so many artists' constructs of a song, love stories, and so on and so forth. I'm in love with my Savior. I'm in love with faith and God and creation and what we've been given in Jesus's death on the cross. Yeah. So a lot of those songs reflect that faith and that gratitude. Many of the songs from later albums reflect a personal journey of faith and a crisis of faith that I went through at certain times. So it's not all, rose-colored stained glass windows. It's not all, cherry pie. It's a life faith journey. There's questions, there's frustration, there's anger, there's railing at God, there's praising God. Yeah. That's what makes us all human. It just happens to be recognizing that there is a God and that you love him and that you're grateful.
So were you born into Christianity then? Was it a family thing, or did something change within your world to create to find Christianity?
Yeah, my mom was Presbyterian. My dad was Catholic, so certainly not. I mean, there's in Catholics, we could really get into another controversial area here. Catholics say they're Christians. Christians can say they're Catholics, and just whatever. I'm not going to walk that line, but they're differences of faith. And I found my walk with Jesus to be what I wanted. So I wasn't, religion was never really forced on me as a child. Mom was not a preacher of Presbyterianism. Dad wasn't a preacher of Catholicism. It just happened to be that I was at an event, and I don't remember my memories. I have kids, so my memory's foggy, and all I remember are things like about Pixar from 2 days ago. But yeah, when I was a kid, there was an altar call given at some kind of public, Christian presentation. I answered that altar call, went forward, prayed to receive Christ as Savior. And I think I was about 10, 11 years old, something like that. And became acutely aware over time that Jesus loves me. became acutely aware that I am loved, that the Holy Spirit lives within me. And that's just, I've never disbelieved that. I've never challenged that. I've been challenged by other people on that, of course, but nothing can sway me. I love the conversation my pastor says he had with someone on the street. They said, "How do you know Jesus is real?" And he said, "Because I just talked to him 5 minutes ago." And I don't know. It's just, I just love those conversations and those examples.
Well, these type of things fascinate me. Me personally, just being an open book, I'm an atheist. I'm not religious in any way at all. But it's okay to have conversations with people that feel differently about things in it, which I think the world lacks a lot of at the minute.
Yeah, we don't see eye to eye anymore. I mean, we took going back to the conversation earlier with 51-49% voting this way and that way. It's, you just, someone disagrees with you over the simplest thing and you click unfriend. It's just, it's a very polar world. Social media has become anti-social media. I'm not a fan of social media. And I think that we're too quick and trigger happy to cut and run, to pull away. I know I'm that way.
Yeah.
I do wish there was more eye to eye seeing, and just, this is why I love performing. I love sharing music and I love presenting, but there's nothing better than sitting down and having a conversation with someone, differing beliefs notwithstanding, whatever you believe, talking with people face to face, one on one, over coffee or scotch. This is coffee, just FYI. And being civil. You can disagree and agree to disagree. It's fine.
That's why I think that's why I love the podcast form, and I've always loved it, because you can just jump on Zoom with people all over the world, have a chat with people that you wouldn't necessarily meet in real life, because there's a big ocean in the way. Music brings people together, and I just think that the format of a podcast, and it's all over YouTube podcasting. That's why we're on YouTube, because I've just seen other people do it, so I've kind of just done it because I've seen success of how other people get on with it all. But the world's full of sound bites, like particularly like news organizations. They seem quite old fashioned now time's moved on. A lot of American media channels, the BBC, the ITV news channels here in the UK, they only really have 4 or 5 minutes to discuss really important topics on news channels, and they've got to get some kind of soundbite in there to keep the sponsors happy. Maybe not with the BBC, but we pay a license fee. It's like, we've got to pay this thing. So conversations are coming back, and I think the mainstream media channels are slowly starting to realize that they're a bit out of date now, and they're kind of losing a lot of people's faith in their opinions on things, because they can be biased. Particularly in America, American shows are sponsored a lot by pharmaceutical companies, which will pay them a lot of money to say certain things. I'm sure. I'm not being naive with that. I'm sure. Same with ITV, adverts in the middle of the channels every 5 minutes, telling us what we should buy and all that kind of stuff. But podcasting, podcasts have adverts, I suppose, and YouTube does, but there's more of an opportunity to have a conversation and just to hear different opinions by two people in one place than these mainstream media places. My point is, basically, I think these media places they're a bit out of touch, it feels like, at the minute. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just a polarization and stuff. I mean, the older you get, the more awakened you are to the world. You start to peel the onion back, and you start to see behind the lines and read between the lines. There's far more going on behind the scenes, in any ecosystem you're part of, that you just really don't understand. There's Illuminati everywhere behind anything you do or any community that you join, and they're calling the shots and stuff. And so we always it's kind of like, boil it down to we were zoomed out there to a 5,000 foot level, come back down to the personal. It's kind of like the person on Facebook, or even the cashier exchange in the store. How you doing? Great. How you doing? Great. And that simple exchange, it's all about image management. And I found myself guilty of that as well after my first and second album, just really becoming image managing and arm's lengthing people. you really need to be transparent and vulnerable and show what's going on behind the scenes. That's how my third album was born. Just very honest about the journey.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you don't that you're not physically trained on music and that kind of stuff. So what instrument? How did you start to create music? How did you get into that side of things then?
Yeah, well, I can play the Rose on the piano. Bette Midler's The Rose. Woohoo! That's really the only thing I can play in full. I mean, I can noodle away at different things, but chords and chord progression and theory and sharps and flats, I just, yes, I took music classes in high school and in college, but I'm more of a practical, natural, hands-on learner. I have been that way for every single thing I've done in my entire life. Going to school was not one of those things where I was just like, ooh, I can't wait to get in school and crack open the book. It was more just hands-on practical application. So, you got Abbey Road up there behind you, and I listened to Abbey Road, and I got behind the that and Sergeant Pepper's, and got behind the album and go, man, they mastered this. They mixed it all on 8-track, 8 tracks of music. It's insane, the production value that went into it. So just a lot of investigating behind the scenes and learning, in terms of performance style, doing voiceovers as well, learning accents, and just really kind of studying the semantics of what makes a song, rather than in hands-on application learning, rather than sitting down and going, okay, well, this is an E sharp over G. I don't even know if that's a chord, or A sharp over F flat, whatever. I have no idea. That was never me. And no other instruments other than just like, a little tiny bit of noodling on a piano. That's really it. I can play the Jaws theme, but I think so can everybody.
So what makes a song then?
I think a song is born first and foremost out of faith in a concept. The concept, whatever it is, whether it's love, faith, whether it's an anger, whether it's a relationship lost, whether it's tenets, whether it's, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's just, you have to sing about something. And as an artist, you're compelled to create. I love the process of creation. And I think for me, that's what reflects God the best in my life. God is the creator. So I get a chance to kind of mimic what God does when I create music. And it's also creating a lasting testament. So you're going to leave something in audio form people can revisit forever. That's part of legacy, leaving that legacy. So it comes from a trust in a concept, or faith in a concept first. And then I think you just kind of have to let the lyrics guide. I have to let the lyrics guide me first. And then I structure melody around that. It's probably different every single time I write a song, but that's pretty common, I think, approach for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned the album's a bit of a love letter to the last 30 years of making music, really. And how have you seen the industry change over the last 30 years?
Wow. Well, I mean, there's so many different genres. Yes, I'm a Christian. I'm going to say that, but I never really listened to Christian music too much. I listened to a lot of what's called secular music and pop and rock and local radio stations. Where we are, Seattle, Washington, I listen to KPLZ religiously, and KPLZ is not a Christian station. I grew disenchanted with CCM music over the years, just to bubblegummy, tripe. The DJs were like, man, these guys aren't engaging, and I wanted to listen to someone who was. So over time, though, it wasn't just Christian music. There's all kinds of musical changes, and there's evolutions in each genre of music that take you to new phases. Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun. Everything's meaningless. I agree and I disagree. There's just new flavors of music that come out all the time. They may have strains of something that you've heard before. Everything like Ed Sheeran's, recent case, people were suing him for the I forget the name of the song, but those are 4 foundational chords that have stood the test of time as far as being common constructs for a song.
I'm so glad
I think it's continuing to evolve.
Yeah, I'm so glad he won that.
That would have been a loss for the entire.
Yeah, I was watching YouTube earlier, and he were on Howard Stern, and he were playing I think he played like 10 or 15 little bits of songs that all had the same chord structure, but they're all old, amazing, fantastic, historic songs that have gone in the years. So if you're going to copyright a chord structure, you just can't do it. And somebody were trying to accuse him of making up a chord structure, which I don't know. I like the band Oasis. About 100 of their songs are the same chord structure. If you listen to some of Noel's songs,
Yeah,
it's just crazy how he had to go through. I think it was 9 years of fighting and spending millions of pounds worth of money just to defend yourself when somebody has a go at you. I just find that ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. It's the legal system. There is so litigious, frivolous lawsuits abound everywhere. That would have been a massive loss for the industry, the whole entire music industry, if that lawsuit had been awarded to the plaintiffs, who will go unnamed. What is it? Doubly dying shall go down, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. Stupid lawsuits. Yeah, I think artists continue to evolve, songs continue to evolve, genres can continue to evolve, and I think the industries continue to evolve. For me, I'm an old cat. Started a long time ago when CDs were just coming to the fore.
Yeah.
So I made a silly decision to get 500 CDs of Legacy. I mean, and they're selling. I've got them, but people stream now. It's an entirely different world. That's a major evolution in music, with the advent of going back to the Walkman. But sure, it was really popularized with iPods and music becoming digital, no longer tangible media. So it'll continue to evolve.
I can remember getting my first Walkman and thinking, this is just like alien technology. This is mental. So it's just, it has changed so much. And it's been a big, the music industry in particular has always had its back against the wall. I think, it's never ever been run properly. The people in it are how do you say this properly? The people in the music industry are of a certain type. I'd say you can make up your own mind on what you think I mean by that, listeners. But I just think it will always fight back. It'll always be there, and the creative arts has always got a fight on its hands from funding and political stances on it and education around it. But it's not going anywhere, is it?
No, and I mean it'll be like every other industry. It'll also come under threat from things like AI. AI is a constant threat hovering on the periphery of so many industries these days. But I think there's so much nuance. There's so many idiosyncrasies. There's so many intonations that AI really can only mimic at best.
Yeah.
I think the creative arts, the creative process, sure, Chat GPT can write up a blog in 1 minute that's impressively done, but nothing can touch the human heart, and the human heart in its creative mode is untouchable. So yeah, the creative arts and the creative industries like singing and recording will continue to go on and evolve, threat or no threat.
So would you change anything now the album's finished? I love this question.
Would I change the album, or would I change
would you change it? Like, because I know what musicians are like. It's hard to finish a song, and it's even harder to finish an album and be completely happy with it, to just leave it and think that's it. Now it's been finished for a bit and it's out there in the world. And do you listen back to a few songs and think, I wish I could have changed that a little bit? Or are you the kind of person that I can just leave it? That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's some mixing things that have come into question. Once you get your music reviewed, it's reviewed by different people, and the mix has been questioned by a few people. There are harmonies and things. I listened to a song called "To Know You," which is off Legacy, and there's something I completely forgot to do. It's kind of an ending chorus at the end of that song. Absolutely forgot to do. I don't know where my head was in the studio, and it's like, oh man, what? I totally forgot that part. It's not a regret, and I certainly, there's other songs that I've touched up over the years and gone back to, not to the level of George Lucas tinkering with Star Wars, but adding little bits and pieces here and there, flavors that you maybe have kind of lingered in the back of your psyche, that the song just calls for that particular addition or change. So I've tinkered here and there and added a few things and just added it to my own library as a 2023 mix or a 2016 update, whatever. I'll probably do that with some of these down the line, not to a great degree. I'm very satisfied with how the album and the songs have turned out.
So what's next to make sure your legacy ends up however you want it to be then? What's coming up next?
Well, what's next is what's always. Independent of the music career, I'm a husband and a daddy, and I love my boys and I love my wife. So that's always what's next, is leaving that legacy. And I'm very grateful. God's really rocked my world with my wife coming into my life in 2011, and then proposing to her in 2011, and then getting married in 2012. Our first child was born in 2016. He's 7. Our second child was born in 2019. He'll be 4 next month. And I love my family. I'm very grateful. I did, right on the coattails of the release of this album, I was approached by the original producer of the 3 songs that are brand new for this one, Maxwell Gaver, for new music. And so he's actually producing 5 new songs, which are 4 of which are, again, resurrecting old songs that never saw the light of day, but with full-on production now. And then creating one from scratch. And then I am doing another one. So I'm actually working on the next album, which is called Everything. And I'm really excited. It's just, you have to create. As an artist, you have to create. And when you stifle that, it's something just revolts inside me. There's nothing more fulfilling for me as an artist than creating music, poetry set to chords and notes. It's beautiful. And I love when you hold it in your hand. And I know you can't listen to this wrapped up and in CD form until you pop it into a CD player. But there's something so untouchably cool about knowing that I left this legacy, that I saw this all the way through. And it's not about seeing my name on it. It's just, I know this was artistry at work, and people are going to listen to this and be blessed, hopefully.
Do you work as well then to fund these things?
Yes. So I do multimedia production. I do voiceovers. I do independent video and audio production, music production in my own studio here, and work from home. So very excited.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, we really appreciate your time today, joining us for the podcast today, Ryan. And keep going with your music. Keep in touch with us at RGM. We're going to be sharing your music around RGM land for the next week or so. Good luck with the new album, of course.
Thank you.
And if you are listening and you are in America and you're getting involved with the podcast and you're hearing this for the first time, just go to rgm.press and submit your music. We want to hear from you, and we'll add you to RGM USA and share your music in the UK, and then we can share our music over in America as well. So that's what it's all about in it. So thanks for your time, mate. It's very much appreciated. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with today? People that are hovering over the link in the description to buy your album or stream it, is there a message that you could leave for them at the minute?
Well, in keeping with the album title, it's really just legacy, and what legacy you leave is entirely up to you. I did have a legacy that I was leaving, and God gave me a new one. And so, but that legacy is about music and artistry and creation. That's the presentation side. What's far more important is the legacy that I leave for my family, my boys. There's one thing that I do that I've done probably every single day since my son, my oldest son, was 2 months old, and that's journal for him every day of his life. And now I've done that for his younger brother. So I can't wait till they're 18 to give them a legacy in journal form of something I wrote about them or for them that day, virtually every day of their lives, to show them how much they were on my mind, how much I love them, and how much they are my legacy. So question I'd ask is just, what's your legacy?
Thank you. And keep leaving a guitar at the side of them as well. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate your time today, joining us for another edition of the RGM podcast. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for another week here at the RGM Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney. As I say, pop onto rgm.press, share the podcast. It's the best way of getting your podcast out there rather than just bang on about it on social media. Word of mouth is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. So if you enjoyed the show today, if you're a new listener from over in the USA, share it with your friends. You know, we're trying a little thing here to try and share new music with 2 different countries. So let's try and support it and crack on with it. And we will see you next Monday for a brand new episode of the RGM podcast. I wish you all the best over the coming days, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your music. Tag your new favorite bands into this podcast, into the socials, and we'll share that too. Let's find some new bands for everybody. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you soon. Toodaloo.